Welcome back to some more Elite Speaking. I am here with your AEW Dark episode 58, October 27th, 2020 review. And man, this episode was a doozy. It featured at least 3 good matches. 3. And it also featured a lot of debuts tonight. It was a good show. I'm going to tell you that right now. It was a good show. It features storylines. It has some good action in the ring. The debuts got to show their stuff. It all worked out for a solid show. And it also featured many on commentary. And to kick off the night, we had Anthony Agogo of 2012 Olympic fame. He is under an AEW contract. He is currently training at the Nightmare Factory to make that transition from boxer to wrestler. And he must be pretty close because they wouldn't have him on commentary for no reason. They want us to get him in our heads. He is here. He is a part of the company, and this won't be the last that we hear from him. He was on commentary for a few matches, and he was solid on commentary. We kicked off the night with the first match, and it was Top Flight versus the Dark Order. Top Flight impressed pretty much most people in the live chat and on social media. Top Flight would fit right in AEW's culture of high-flying, fast-paced action. Stu runs in immediately on Top Flight. Top Flight gets some offense in not long after, but the Dark Order takes over for a good percentage of the match. Top Flight's Dante later gets a high tag and gets to work on Stu and shows off his athleticism. Top Flight gets a Dragon Rana off and follows it up with a frog splash on Stu Grayson for a 2 count. But later, the Dark Order wins via their fatality finisher. Top Flight looked good in defeat here, and I hope we get to see more of them going forward. Based on the fan reaction, I think that is very possible. I give the match a solid 3. It could have been at home on a Dynamite show. A 2.5 to a 3. Next matchup, we had Ricky Starks versus VSK, apparently of Creator Pro fame. Both lock it up to start. Starks gets to work on VSK in the corner. Later on, as he halts his momentum, VSK's momentum. Later, VSK attempts to turn the tables on Starks by getting a boot up to counter Ricky Starks' top rope offense, but later Starks hits his spear and then follows it up immediately with the Rochambeau for the win. Solid match, and I give it a 2. Next segment, we had Eddie Kingston and the Bunny. Both basically explained why the Bunny decided to turn on QT Marshall and the Nightmare family. Eddie said the world wants to know why she turned on QT. And then the Bunny responded by saying, why do you think it was so easy to infiltrate the Nightmare family? The Bunny, she just got bored. And then Eddie Kingston followed it up saying his family is coming after QT's faux family, his false family. So we're going to get some more storyline out of that. The Natural Nightmares will be coming for that revenge against the Butcher and the Blade. Next matchup, we had Matt Sydal versus Lee Johnson, and this was a good solid match. Another good one. Both lock it up. Sydal shows off his technical prowess to start the match. Sydal later hits a standing twist salt move and gets a 2 count for it. Sydal then locks in another submission on Lee. He then hits a Northern Lights bomb and gets another 2 count. Johnson hits 2 topes, and Sydal hides out after this. Not long after, the camera could not find Sydal. It was assumed that he was hiding underneath the ring, but nope. He comes running off camera to strike Lee Johnson in the back. This happened on the outside. Later in ring, Lee Johnson goes for a Blue Thunder bomb, but Seidel reverses it. He then puts on the Cobra Clutch for the tap out win. Solid match. It gets a 2.5 to a 3. Close to a 3. Very close. Next match, this is one of my favorites of the night right here. And it features a debut in the women's division. The AEW Women's Champ, Hikaru Shida, versus newcomer Leyla Hirsch of Bloodsport fame. She was last on the Collective showing, the GCW's Collective, a few weekends ago, and she stood out. She had a great match there. And apparently AEW was watching, and I'm glad they were, because I saw a lot of good talent there, and they're bringing them on into Dark to get a look, and that is smart. Leyla Hirsch is legit, just like her namesake says. She is very legit. She gives off the Ronda Rousey, the Shayna Baszler vibe to a lot of people. Some even likened her to a Kurt Angle with her technical abilities in ring. Both lock it up. Hirsch takes down Shida and uses her quickness. Hirsch later runs into Shida's arms and gets a backbreaker for her troubles. Shida later drapes her over the apron and delivers her patented knee. Leyla then hits a tope on Shida and covers for a 2 count. Shida goes for a Falcon Arrow later, but Hirsch reverses for an armbar. Shida, though, later follows that up with a knee to the face and then hits her patented Falcon Arrow, which nobody kicks out of the Falcon Arrow, and she got a win. Leyla Hirsch looked great in defeat. And usually those whom look good in Shida matches that are newcomers, they usually end up getting signed, and I hope that pattern continues here. And it looks to be the case, because not long after Dark went off the premiere on YouTube, Tony Khan announced that Leyla Hirsch will be in a match on Dynamite versus the newly crowned NWA Women's World Champion, Serena Deeb, whom dropped the title. No, actually, she won the title from Thunder Rosa the same night on Primetime Live on Fight TV, which was great. I'm going to go back and watch that eventually. So we got that to look forward to on Dynamite tonight, which should be good. The women's division is slowly picking up steam. They're slowly adding pieces to the division, and I just want them to keep that momentum going. I know they can do it. There's plenty of great talent out there. They just got to know where to look. This match gets a 3. Definitely would have been at home on Dynamite. Loved it. And I'm glad we're going to get to see at least another match from Leyla Hirsch. After that, we got a segment which QT Marshall had a rebuttal. QT says, one thing you won't take away from the Natural Nightmares is their spot. And later, Dustin comes in and says, the Butcher, the Blade, and that Jezebel Bunny, you take. That's what you do, Dustin says. And he continues to run them down. And we know this is going to lead to a Butcher Blade and Nitro Nightmares feud, which should be interesting. An undercard story in the tag division. Next match, we had a 6-man tag, and this was pretty good. It featured Jersey Muscle, and Danny Limelight versus the Jurassic Express. Good match. Good to great match. Jungle Boy and Limelight start the match off with various holds. Marco then gets some offense in as he Ranas a handful of these guys. His Rana was later countered, but Marco rolls him up for a 2 count. Later, Luchasaurus gets the high tag as he makes short work of the Jersey Muscle Boys. The boys hit their tag finish on Marco, but only get a 2 count later. Marco got a lot of shine in this match, by the way, possibly due to his long absence, so they want to make him look good. And they did that in spades here. Marco is then tossed into one of the guys for a Canadian destroyer and gets a 3 count for the win. Great match. And it gets a 3 as well. This would have been at home on Dynamite also. Next match we had TH2, the Hybrid 2 versus SCU. Angelico shows off his technical prowess as he and Kaz lay it out on the mat for a bit to start. Later, Evans and Daniels gets in on the action. Evans gets a standing sky twister on Daniels for a 2 count prior to Angelico tying him up in a submission hold. Daniels later goes for an Angel's Wings, but Evans counters. Kazarian later spiked Evans with a DDT and gets a broken up 2 count. TH2 later loses via a roll up because they tried to get too cocky. They tried to do too much near the end, and SCU capitalized. Post-match, TH2 beats down at SCU. Angelico then puts a hold on Daniels as Evans stomps a mud hole into Daniels. As a result, they got their heat back. And this may not be over between the two. We shall see going forward. Next matchup, we had another women's match. Anna Jay versus Catalina Perez. Brandy at this point is on commentary. Anna Jay starts the match off very aggressive on Perez. Perez then gets a bit of offense in, but Jay slows that down with various kicks and strikes. Jay then locks in the Queen Slayer later to Perez, and she goes to sleep for the loss. Anna Jay picks up the win here. Post-match, Brandy stands up from the announce table and then says, "Stay out of my house." And this was in reference to John Silver being on her Shot of Brandy cooking show on YouTube at an angle that happened at the end of that. Jay didn't even acknowledge Brandy at this point. So she had her back turned to her in disrespect. Disrespected Brandy right there. Their feud continues. Next up came the best match of the night, and that was the ongoing feud between Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. This feud had a lot of people intrigued, interested to see how it goes down. This was their third match versus one another, and it totally delivered. And some say it was a shame that it was on Dark, but I disagree because most of this feud has been built up online. So that's where it stays. If this was put on Dynamite or a buy-in to a pay-per-view, then people will wonder where the heck did this come from? Why is this on the show? And it's their loss if they don't watch Dark, but because they're missing out on some good stuff. And this was one of them. This match was great. Cutler immediately gets to work on Avalon. He pounces Avalon. Later, Avalon tosses Cutler off of the stage, the ramp, and he dives on him off the stage. Avalon then pulls a table from under the ring, and this would come into play later. Cutler then puts a garbage can on Avalon's head. They're still on the outside of the ring, and he kicks the garbage can while it's on Avalon's head. Cutler then elbows him, but hurts himself in the process. Cutler gets backdropped onto the table outside of the ring via Peter Avalon because Cutler attempted to powerbomb Peter through the table, but Peter countered and sent Cutler crashing through the table instead. Avalon then grabs a crate of books and wallops Cutler in the back with the crate. Cutler then hits a reverse DDT for a 2 count. Cutler then goes to the outside of the ring, grabs a small bag from under the ring, and guess what was inside of the bag? He spills a bag of D&D die onto the mat. D4s, I believe, or something like that. Avalon then plants Cutler on the books for a 2 count. Leyla then walks out on Avalon after Avalon had words with her as she was standing on the ramp. And then after this, she slapped Avalon and then walked out on him. So this may spell the end of the Librarians as a duo. Avalon said he didn't need her, and this was what sparked that slap. And Leyla to just leave him high and dry. Avalon gets some brass knuckles out, the crate of books that he brought. But Cutler slams him on the die, and he gets a 2 count as Avalon screamed in pain. Both later go through the table that was set up earlier on the outside, but as they were going through the table, Avalon got a shot off on Cutler with the brass knuckles as they were falling into the table. The Young Bucks then come out to support Cutler. Avalon then goes for a Hurricane Rana off the top rope. He hits it though, but Cutler immediately rolls over to counter it, and he gets a 3 count. And then as a result, Cutler got his first ever win in AEW after like a year, literally after like a year and some weeks. And there you have it, a feel-good moment. Cutler got his first win. He's now like 1-25 or something like that. And we shall see where this goes after. What's next for Cutler? What's next for Avalon? We'll see going forward. Great match. He gets a 4. A 3.5 to a 4. All just close to being pay-per-view level. Good stuff. And that wasn't even the main event. Next matchup, we had the Best Friends versus Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. Caster begins to rap on his way to the ring. He insults the Best Friends as a result. Caster and Trent kicked it off as the Best Friends make him eat his words early. Later, Taylor goes for a moonsault and misses. Bowens takes advantage and gets a cover for a 1 count. Trent later goes for his swinging DDT, but Caster reverses and delivers a vertical for a 2 count. Later, Caster falls victim to the strong zero, and the Best Friends pick up the win. Solid match, and it gets a 2. Next segment, we had Alex Marvez with Scorpio Sky. Marvez wanted to know about the spear situation. And then as Scorpio Sky was going to invite Marvez into his locker room, he walks in there and to find out that it was trashed. Crap was thrown everywhere. And then Sky looks at the mirror in his locker room, and it's had the words thief written on said mirror. The Spears Scorpio Sky rivalry is starting to heat up. Next matchup, we had Brian Cage versus Fuego del Sol. Fuego attempts to get the jump on Cage, but he proves to be a bit much. Sol gets tossed around like he was nothing. Fuego later reverses the drill claw for a 2 count. Sol gets wrecked, though, with the Cage finisher, Weapon X, for the win. Nice little squash, and it gets a 2. It had a few missteps, but it was still solid. Next matchup was the Dark Order's 10 versus Sean Maluda. 10 delivers an intense powerbomb pretty early in the match. Also gets off a stalling vertical suplex, but he didn't cover. Maluda then falls to a kitchen sink. 10 then gets off a spine buster and then clothesline Maluda to the back of the head for the win. Match gets a 2. Next up, we had Ivelisse and Diamante versus Kylan King and Savannah Evans, another newcomer. And she didn't get to show too much because she was worn down throughout this match. King did get to shine a bit, though. King and Evans goes for stereo body slams to start the match to Ivelisse and Diamante, but they scrambled out of the holds. Ivelisse and Diamante both had speed on their side. They were the smallest ones in this match. They then chop block Evans to get the advantage. Later, King gets a hot tag and she runs wild for a bit, but falls victim to the code red for the loss. Diamante and Ivelisse picks up the win. Match gets a 2. Next matchup, we had Aaron Solo versus Sonny Kiss. Kiss gets a nice arm drag and step up Rana off on Solo to start. Solo then halts his momentum. Later, Kiss gets his split leg drop for the win. Post-match, Archer destroys both Kiss and Solo. Jake cuts a promo in ring. He says, "You're going to see a few changes here. It's been a while since he DDT'd anyone. There will be changes here." And then Lance Archer lets us know what he thinks of Mox. He says Mox survived. He doesn't care who wins the match or tournament at Full Gear. He's not going to stop coming for that title. And that promo segment was over. Solo and Kiss gets a 2. Next match, we had Nick Komoroto versus Will Hobbs. Big guy versus big guy. Komoroto goes after Hobbs immediately with a drop kick to the corner. Komoroto then gets the tables turned on him until he chop blocks Hobbs' knee. Later, though, Hobbs then finishes off Komoroto with a frog splash for the win. Match could have gone a bit longer. Komoroto didn't get to show off as much this time that he did with Darby Allin. Still looks solid, though. I still hope I wouldn't mind them picking him up sometime in the future. Match gets a 2. And we had our final match, which was Darby Allin versus Alex Chamberlain, I believe. Darby started with a drop toe hold to armbar, but Chamberlain gets to the ropes. Chamberlain then stomps a mud hole in Allin. Match later spills outside as Darby knocks Chamberlain into the ring post. Darby later hit a coffin drop to Chamberlain's back as he was draped in the ropes. And just as they hit back into the ring later, Darby hit it again. He hits the coffin drop again to the chest of Chamberlain for the win. At this point, Ricky Starks was on commentary. Post-match, Starks leaves the commentary booth as he baits Allin to come out to the ramp. And just as he was about to, Brian Cage comes from out the woodworks to help beat down Darby. But not long after, Hobbs comes to the rescue with a steel chair in hand. And this is where Dark ended the night. Solid episode of Dark, filled with storylines, great matches, and a lot of nice action from newcomers. Good stuff. Darby versus Chamberlain gets a 2. Thanks for listening and watching. Feel free to subscribe if you like what you heard. Leave a like on the video to show your appreciation as well. I do these weekly, and I'd appreciate some feedback. Thanks for listening, and I will catch you next time.